My fellow exiles, welcome. I'm Try. We just had an interview with Preach Gaming and Jonathan Rogers in which people talked a bunch about campaign skipping. That was one of the most hot topics of the entire discussion. And now, once again, the discussion has reignited in the Path of Exile community about whether campaign skipping is good or not. Now, there are fierce and passionate people on both sides of the issue, but today I would like to sit down, take a retrospective look, and really analyze both sides of the issue. Let's look at why people would like to skip the campaign and how that might be possible. And then let's look at Grinding Gear Games' stance on people never being able to skip the campaign and why that is probably going to be how Path of Exile is laid out forevermore. Okay, let's begin on the side of the skippers. We've got the full skippers, we have the partial skippers, and then we have the skippers who would like to skip only at certain times. Yes, I know, three very interesting categories I have here. That's just what my mind is devising. So the full skippers, these are people like those who've played Diablo 4, and they've seen the way that that game handles the campaign. And if you haven't played it, all you gotta do is play the campaign a single time in Diablo 4, and then you never have to play it again. You go through it once on character number 1, and with every subsequent character, no matter the season, no matter the league, no matter when you're playing them, you never have to do the campaign again, ever. Now, obviously GGG will never do that, but it's an option, and it's an option that some people would like. Then we have something like option number 2, and that's the way Last Epoch does it. Now, Last Epoch just came out to critical and commercial community acclaim. People loved the game. It had some rocky issues, but one thing that people really enjoyed about the campaign is that you don't have to play the entire thing every single time through. Instead, you can skip parts of the campaign by taking shortcuts and completing dungeons, and you can just glaze over entire chapters. People adored that. It made making subsequent characters far easier in the eyes of many. They don't have to go through the tedium, which we'll explore in just a moment. Now, every subsequent character is like that. You can skip campaigns in next cycles, but the thing is, you need a specific item to do that. So with your first character, you're probably not going to be able to skip any of the campaign itself. And then we have option 3, which is a little bit of a middle ground. Every single league, you'd have to complete the campaign at least once on one character, your first character, and then with each subsequent character, you can skip the campaign. But every single league after that, you still have to do the campaign at least once. That's a little bit of a middle ground, right? It's not too far in any direction, and it's one approach that people have presented to Grinding Gear games. And then we have the people like me who think you should have to do the campaign on every single character, no matter the league, no matter if it's your 5th character, your 10th character, your 20th character, you have to do the campaign and start from step 1 in that character's journey. That's the stance that Grinding Gear Games has, that's the stance that I have, and I know it's not the stance that many of the people in my comments have, but look at me, I'm disagreeing with you for once. So we have a lot of the options laid out of how people want to skip the campaign, right? Either we have the full skip, the partial skip, or the skip after you play the campaign at least once on every single character. Now, why exactly do people want to do that? Now, the lazy answer, right, and the answer that a lot of people who are pro-campaign shoot over to the anti-campaign folks is that they're lazy. They just don't want to do the campaign again. It's too tedious, and oh my gosh, they just don't want to play the game. My goodness, these people. But there's a little bit more that we can dive into there. Really grasp at what's going on. Is it that people are lazy, or is it that they don't want to repeat certain aspects of the campaign on every subsequent character? I think that most of the time it is the latter, and it is sensible, really. A lot of people have pointed out that in the campaign you have to backtrack a lot, you have to deliver items to NPCs, gather quest rewards, all that stuff, and they don't see it as necessary. They don't see it as valuable. They might understand the fact that you need to build your character from level 1 to level 100, and you need a starting place for that, but they don't want that starting place to be at the beginning of the campaign where you have to complete all these menial tasks. So if they don't want to do that, if they don't want to do the campaign, how exactly are they going to get from level 1 to the beginning of endgame at level 65 or 70 exactly? Well, a lot of people have proposed game modes like Endless Delve or Endless Heist or some sort of wave style system where you're fighting against hordes of enemies endlessly and just leveling up, getting the passive skill points that you would from the quests and the quest rewards as well, all in one place. And honestly, that sounds more brain dead than running through the campaign. I'm sorry, everyone, I don't understand that. I know that might appeal to a small subset of you, but that would be mind numbing to so many other people. And because it's more efficient, or it would be more efficient probably, a lot of people would choose that and they would burn out on the game way faster. There's something interesting, something better about playing through the campaign and going through all these various areas, talking to NPCs, however brief, collecting rewards, and slowly building your way through from Act 1 in POE1 to Act 10, compared to just sitting on an island and facing tons of enemies and getting everything basically dropped in your lap. So what's another approach besides something like Endless Delve? Well, perhaps a free-form campaign where you have access to all the waypoints on all subsequent characters, or once you've unlocked a waypoint on a character during any particular league, you have that waypoint on all your other characters. That's a little bit more sensible. It would speed up the campaign. It would get rid of the tedium of needing to find the waypoints and really go back through all these areas and talk to NPCs and track through the maps. That might be a nice middle ground for grinding gear games, and honestly, as a pro-campaign person, I could kind of get on board with something like that. It doesn't take away what you're doing throughout the campaign, what you're building toward, but it does help quicken it up a little bit. And with all the quality of life changes we're seeing, for example, in Path of Exile 1 this league with Necropolis, I do think that that is feasible for Path of Exile 2. So if that does sound enticing to you, and even if you're a pro-campaign enjoyer, try to understand their side here, maybe pipe up. Talk in Reddit, talk in my Discord, talk in the comments. Let us know, does that sound good? Are there any other options that I'm missing? Please let me know in the comments before we move on to Grinding Gear Games Stance and why they're probably not going to change it. Why they want people to play the campaign. And it's simple, really. Everyone here should be able to understand what their stance is and why they're taking it. Jonathan Rogers was very light-handed when he told Preach about his position. He kind of just said, yeah, we don't want people to skip the campaign. It'll be a cold day in hell when we allow people to do this. And I know it's a bad answer, but we're not changing on it. And the reasons there, have been outlined before and they make total sense. For example, Path of Exile 2, most of its development period has been the campaign. The brand new 6-act campaign. They're putting all of their new animation work, all of their art design, all their monster design, all these resources and all this new player testing, these first user experiences into the campaign itself. They're trying to curate the perfect ARPG experience. They want to make the campaign as good as possible. They don't want people to play through the campaign once and say, whew, wow, what a campaign. I never want to do that again. Like people are doing with Diablo 4, for example. They want to make the best possible experience for you, and they want you to want to play through the campaign. That is their goal, and Grinding Gear Games is stubborn on this front. They've always been a stubborn company, and while stuff like trade and respecking affect non-gameplay elements, non-player psychological elements, non-character progression elements in a way that's different from the campaign, I don't see them ever changing their stance on it just because the campaign is so integral to how their game is designed. Path of Exile is a clear progression-styled game. Your character begins washed up on the shores of a river in Path of Exile 2, and eventually, we think, will be slaying gods and eldritch beings and all these powerful entities by the time they reach maps, and then get level 100 at the very end of the game. They like that. They like that you feel like nothing at the beginning and you have to go through all this arduous work to get from the river to Act 2 to Act 3, 4, 5, 6, and then finally maps the end game. You feel rewarded. You truly do. Come on, people, tell me. People who have done the campaign 100+ times like I have, don't tell me you aren't rewarded. You don't feel amazing once you reach maps. That league start experience, imagine if it was gone. Imagine if you logged into Path of Exile 2 after the first league, you've done the campaign a single time on one character, and you log on and it says, campaign skip. and you can just land directly in the end game, whatever that might be. It's probably going to be maps. There's no progression path there. You're instantly starting in maps, you're instantly working your way through the maps there, or you're doing an endless delve style thing. You feel almost meaningless. The experience feels pointless. I've tried it with D4. Man, it's bad. They just drop you in the world if you pick campaign skip, and you're just there. There's no reason for what you're doing. You're just roaming around killing crap. You're not a part of the greater story, and even if you think that doing it in POE1 and then in POE2 is going to be tedious, psychology is there. You are going to feel better, I'm telling you, and you're not going to get burned down the game as fast if you start from that step 1, from the river, and then you make it all the way to maps. I'm telling you. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, but I bet Grinding Gear Games has a psychiatrist or psychologist or two on their staff. They know how we think, exiles. Anyways, really, what is your stance on this? This is something that I'm at odds with much of the community. I like doing the campaign every season, and I think it's a necessary thing in the game. I'm with GGG on this one. But if you're not, let me know in the comments, let me know in the Discord, and remember, I will be streaming tonight, Wednesday, and Saturday morning, my time, 5 o'clock Eastern. So if you'd like to chat with me live, prepare for the Jonathan interview, prepare for the LA trip, I will see you there. As always, thank you all for the tremendous support, especially Scorewin, my first Beyond, Exile, and all these Twitch subscribers. My goodness, I can't believe we're at 39 or 40 already. That is tremendous. Anyways, that's all for this video. Halamoana, Exiles.